reporting on the games you love by people who love to game. The MMO Reporter Network. You're listening to Guild Wars Reporter on the MMO Reporter Network. Brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download at audibletrial.com/MMO Reporter. And by Doghouse Systems. Choose your weapon at doghousesystems.com.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Guild Wars Reporter. This is episode 98. I'm Celeste, and as always, I'm joined by the lovely Allona.
Hello.
Now, before we jump into anything that's actually about the game, we need to do a brief but very emphatic disclaimer. We're going to be talking in depth about the patch and what it means for the story of Tyria. This means that if you haven't gone through the story instance with Scarlet, you will not want to listen to this episode. Unless you want to be spoiled.
Yes.
But don't listen to this if you haven't already done the instance.
Yes.
We're going to try, but I mean...
I'm not going to try.
Okay, we're not going to try. But, I mean, seriously, if you haven't done the story instance, or you haven't gone through, or watched another video of it, or something else, don't. Okay? Are we clear? Giving you a few more seconds.
That's always fair.
Okay. So, Allona, what did you do this week?
Well, prior to patch, so I guess old news, we did do the Rebel Tour with Saint from the Guild doing the lead, and we had to have 2 different parties because we had enough people show up. And unfortunately, you weren't unable to make it that night,
Yes.
which sucks. But
I was making tamales.
You were making tamales. But it was a lot of fun. I think everyone got it or got incredibly close. We did it a little bit the next night just to top up the few people that didn't get all of them, because a bunch of us went in with, having enough done already that it was pretty good. He had the laptop there with all the locations, and we went from point to point. And that was a lot of fun. But with 2 groups, it was kind of hard to keep track of everyone.
Yeah.
Which we'll discuss later.
Yes, indeed.
Cal, my husband, and I got up earlier one morning and ran with Richie, aka Bog Otter, for his last Guild Wars 2 stream for Massively out in Fields of Ruin, and that was actually a lot of fun. I wasn't in his party. We started our own party, so people who were coming in that weren't in a party, they often joined us, and it was really nice. Actually, a Pink Char was actually the character name of one of the people in our party, and they were a newer member of Chronicles of Tyria Guild.
Oh.
Yeah, so they seemed really nice. I accidentally bought a second Gift of Blades recipe because I'm a star. They have the red warnings saying you already know this recipe.
Right.
I don't know what the heck. I don't remember buying it. I don't remember equipping it. I still don't, but obviously I did. So I only have one Taylor. And now I have a second recipe for Taylor for a Gift of Blades. I guess I'll make one of my alts a Taylor and use it for
someday.
I feel silly. Further to that, I just this morning got enough iron to get past that first hurdle of making the exotic or the spinal blade back piece.
Mm-hmm.
You make the base, then you need iron, and the next one you need steel. And I mentioned last week that I was stuck on the steel one.
Right.
And so I finally got enough. I just broke down and bought stuff on the trading post.
Traitor.
I couldn't handle that. Well, and again, further to the patch, it was important to have at least some back piece. And I was just like, screw it, I'm going to get this done. Now, I don't have a Profession to 500, so I don't have the Ascended version.
Right.
But I at least have the exotic. And I got my March monthly by the 4th. The 4th of the month, I had it done.
I have 1 of 4 right now. So you're just amazing.
Well, and the reason I really worked to get it done on the 4th because prior to, I don't think it counts anymore, but prior to the patch on Tuesday, every attack on Lion's Arch counted as a dungeon instance.
Oh, okay.
So you'd go in there and you'd get your monthly dungeon runs done.
Right.
And then there are events in there, so your monthly events get done. So it was just very synergetic for getting that done. And I was trying to get my artificer up to 400, and I did actually just yesterday, I think. But prior to that, it was make masterwork items. So I
Right.
was able to. So I just it basically everything kind of knitted and fell into place for me getting the monthly by the fourth.
That's good though.
Yeah. One of the reasons I wanted to get the back piece to exotic is I've had to completely rethink my build for the LA fights from since the patch.
True.
Because I went in with my normal, which 9 times out of 10 suits situations perfectly fine. They were not, I was not doing very well at all. For anyone who hasn't been in yet, condition removal is your very, very, very best friend.
Yeah, don't even bother going in with conditions at all.
Yeah, don't go in. Yeah, condition damage isn't, well, it's fine after a certain point against some of them, but beyond that, they're throwing tons of conditions on you. So the more things you have that can remove conditions, the better. Blocking is your friend, so the more blocks you can have, at least for me. So I had to rethink. So one of the things I did as a mesmer is I took restorative mantras and I took a few mantras in and I was firing them off as much as I could. Of course, the one that removes conditions.
Mm-hmm.
So I basically built up my healing set. So I made the exotic spinal back piece, the apothecaries for the healing.
Yeah.
So when I go in, every time I channel one of my mantras and ready it, I'm healing people around me for, I think, almost 4K now.
Oh, wow.
Between 3 and 4, 5 people. Anytime I need to ready a mantra, I just run into a group of people and ready it and then heal up everyone around me. So it's like it's a completely different mindset for me when I'm playing.
It's more like playing like a water elf.
I guess I certainly haven't got to that point with an LA to be that useful. It's really only useful the restorative mantras when you're in a group. Like if you're playing on your own. Although I did notice that it heals your phantasms and clones. I was like, ooh, notice. I had to rethink.
In the vein of being a mesmer, my friend said that one of the best skills that he unexpectedly equipped and thought wasn't going to be as awesome was the group res skill, and I don't know the name.
Illusion of life.
Illusion of life. And he said that that was like the best thing to bring to these fights because you go into a group and there's like 7 or 8 dead people on the ground and you could just pop it.
You know, I always avoid that one because I never know whether I'm doing people a favor or not. Do you know what I mean? Because I think it's like the warrior one where unless you manage to down something, you instantly die. And I don't know if that's true. So I've just avoided, but I'll look at that because that might not be a bad thing to take.
It was something that he was like, oh, this is really awesome. So
I used it early in the game and I was a little worried that I was just making people mad at me. So I stopped using it. And then finally, I beat Scarlet. I think most people who have been playing since the patch have.
I think so too, especially with the caveat that you don't actually have to go through the whole night fight to go through that cinematic.
Yeah, my final thing is a part confession of I totally cried during the last cinematic. And Cal will attest to that. I actually had tears on my face.
I totally didn't.
The Cassajori, that bit specifically.
We'll talk about this more.
Yeah.
But honestly, the eyeshadow ruined that whole cinematic. It killed it for me. It was like total break from immersion. I was like, am I watching like The Sims?
I totally never even thought about that, but I do know what you're saying. I honestly do know what you're saying there.
So I'll go ahead and jump into what I did, aside from beating Scarlet. I went on a self-imposed rebel tour because before the patch hit, I was like, I should probably just go and get some heirlooms. So I went around and I went in as soon as the portal opened and I started following people that were like making a beeline for the first one I knew. So I was like, I'm just going to follow these people. And I ended up getting the memories in your hand achievement by following these people.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
It was an accidental rebel tour.
It was an accidental rebel tour. Well, I mean, kind of, sort of. Yeah. I went in there with the thought of I'm going to try to, but not with the mindset of I'm going to do this. Mm-hmm. A happy surprise.
Awesome.
I've been doing my dailies a lot, or attempting to do my dailies a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly because I'm tired of logging off at 4 or 5 and being like, I'll come back in just a few minutes. and then not logging in for 2 days.
Yeah. Cal often misses his dailies. Like he'll have one left to do that's almost done, and he'll completely forget to come in for whatever reason and miss it.
So, like, my new plan of action is as soon as I log in, I do my daily.
Yeah.
And I just treat it like the chore that it is and just do it as soon as I log in.
Mm-hmm.
Based on doing the Battle for Lion's Arch and crafting, I've managed to gain, and getting tomes of knowledge because I had a whole bunch of belongings. I went from 35 to 47 on my engineer.
Ooh.
So it's a pretty big jump. When I went to go actually beat up on Scarlet, I was playing with a friend of mine, and I didn't think that we were going to actually, like, get it done. Like, we're just playing for the sake of playing. I wasn't like, I'm going to beat her. It was just kind of a pleasant surprise again to be playing with my friend and actually get all the way to the end, because when the patch first hit and we had gone in there and we were all together, and...
Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention that.
We were probably like 15 minutes from the end of the fight. We were up on Breachmaker, and we all got error 7'd.
Yeah, all of us.
I definitely let out like the big Vader screaming no.
You did. It was hilarious. It was like, ah! And actually, I was having to leave anyway, so I'm like, oh, well, this works out well for me.
I was so angry because we went in there and it was just like everything was working. Yeah. Everything was going well. It's patch day. It's the first attempt. I'm going to do it. This is so awesome.
Although, did you notice that we didn't get any achievement progression?
Yeah.
So there was obviously something glitched there because I logged in later that evening and I was like, what? How do I not have anything tracked forward even a little bit? It was all zip.
Yeah.
So there was obviously a number of issues there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was kind of, yeah, that was a thing. But I was glad you were able to get through with your friend there.
And it was really nice to be able to play with him. He hadn't played for a few months, so it was he felt like he was diving in to the deep end. But I was just explaining it and having so much fun that it was extremely relaxing. I mean, even though it kind of feels like you're playing Bulletstorm with all the different telegraphs on the floor.
Yeah. I switched up my weapon set slightly so that on a Mesmer Scepter Focus or a Scepter Sword. So I have 2 blocks, and that has it's 100% saved my bacon on those fights against the Assault Knights.
It's been good stuff. It's been a good week.
Report from Vigil Keep.
So, the biggest news item that we've got for this week is the Battle for Lion's Arch, obviously, as we were gushing about during our What We Did. Let's go ahead and say that the patch notes are pretty much all living world. There's only a few items that don't fit into this sort of theme.
And they were very clear going into 2014. They said they were definitely splitting the releases between living world and features. That's what we got.
That's what we got indeed. A few of the things that are worth noting: while the Captain Council oversees efforts, the Lion Guard are making preparations for a counterattack. And in case you weren't aware, heirlooms and found belongings can still be turned in for items, and you can still find them by playing through the content.
Could have used that news last week.
I can't believe that they didn't go ahead and just say this.
Yes!
On Twitter or Facebook or something.
I've read this a few places. Like, how hard would it be to just say, give us an end date on some things, just so we're not guessing?
Yeah.
That sounds really bitter kitten, but you know what I mean.
They could have let us know that the NPCs dealing those items were sticking around.
Well, and that you can still get them.
I feel like that wouldn't have been very much. Yeah. You can still enter from the same locations: Gandharan Fields, Lornar's Pass, or Bloodtide Coast. Scarlet has secured different areas of the map by deploying her champions. Her champions are the Aetherblade Admiral and Cannoneer, Toxic Warlock and Spider Queen, Molten Fire Shaman, and the Munition Specialist. I haven't actually gotten to fight any of these except for the Admiral, and he kicked my butt.
I can't remember. I'm pretty sure I fought at least one or two of them, possibly. I know when I was looking at my achievements, I certainly, these are all tied to achievements, I believe, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that I've at least one of them, but I don't remember. Further to the chaos of last patch, this one is still somewhat chaotic to me, and I haven't sat down and, methodically decided what I'm going to tackle.
They're difficult, but then again, they're champions.
Hmm.
So they're meant to be difficult. There's also the Assault Knights, which we had spoken about a little bit in the last episode. They arrive on each hour, and Scarlet's legendary Assault Knights will show up at 3 locations and hover for several minutes before descending to attack. They'll be at the Grand Piazza, Morin Memorial, and the Gunnery Range.
I never noticed that they hovered.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well, anytime I've come across them, they're just standing there all casual, like, hey, like at a water cooler. So, when's your shift start? Like that. So
Actually, yeah, the first time that I logged in and I was standing next to the blue one there, it was just standing.
that's the only way I've come across them. So I've never seen the hovering. That's cool.
Yeah, I remember seeing it up in the air now, at least.
I'm gonna look for that next
They
time.
also say in the patch notes that defeating the 3 Assault Knights simultaneously is the key to reaching Scarlet's airship, the Breachmaker. Nope.
It depends on how you define simultaneously.
Within the time window, yes.
Yes. Which is what? It's 6 minutes
Longer.
or something. Oh no, I thought the time limit between them was 6 minutes. Within 6 minutes of each other.
Oh, really?
I could be wrong. I
The
might be
patch has
totally.
only been out for a day. I'm sorry, guys. We're still learning it, too.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought to check that, actually.
That's actually one of the things I liked about this particular patch is it's still challenging in that you have to think about its mechanics,
Hmm.
but it's not impossible.
No, it's definitely possible to do it.
Yeah, so that's why I thought they did a really good job balancing well, there's no point me even trying this because it's so difficult with, well, this is just a gimme.
It's a challenge, but it's definitely not unattainable by any means.
Chat room is saying 9 and that 6 minutes is only for a special achievement.
Ah,
Thank you, chat room, for being more informed than we are.
thank you. The legendary Assault Knights will drop 5 deluxe gearboxes and a chance and an Assault Knight power core, which can be used to color the tempered spinal blade's back item.
I was actually a little confused because I'd only ever I saw a few or ascended back items
Mhm.
in game, players running, and they were always the kind of goldy color.
Yeah.
But I was in the Royal Terrace, and someone was just for their own benefit linking the 3, trying to decide which color they were wanting to go with.
Right.
So I used them to preview as well. Might
Of
as well,
course.
they were there, and they make all the difference. If as far in my opinion, like particularly the blue and green, they're just delightful. The red is meh for me, but the other two, they make it pretty nice.
I'm honestly not crazy about this back piece, but if it colors up really well, maybe I will actually take it to the proper level.
Yeah.
Be sure to pack consumables, food, utility buffs, and a favorite finisher. This may be our best and only chance to put a stop to Scarlet's villainy.
Yeah.
I used my Quaggin finisher.
On Scarlet?
Yes.
I actually have not, but if I did, it will be all bunny. I can't decide which is more insulting, bunny or quaggan.
I think it would be pretty awesome to use the Ascalonian one on her, honestly.
I need to get a finisher. You run out of food buffs and consumables, so I do agree with that one. That's a nice little tip.
It is, and if you aren't paying attention and you're, getting ready to jump on and refresh everything before you go on to Breachmaker, then you're going to have enough time for all that good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
For the brave who battle their way to diverse ledges, they can meet up with Lion Guard Turma. Her latest scouting report states that she's found a new type of portal, but is unable to access it without special equipment derived from Scarlet's technology. If you're stuck in a really bad overflow, or you really just don't have the time to wait around for the top of the hour to fight the Assault Knights and go through the big fight, as long as you have the backpack, and I mean just have the back piece, like you've combined the 4 pieces and you have the thing with...
Something beyond the basic, with no blades.
I thought it was just the basic.
Oh, okay.
Like, as long as you have the back piece itself.
Oh, okay.
Then you should be able to go into the portal and do the story instance. So for the, ultra time deprived, you can do that.
And I think that's a really nice idea because The story instance, I think, is very satisfying, but I don't think it's necessarily more satisfying if you fight through this final fight, like what it leads up to. Do you know what I mean?
I do. I feel like it brings a lot more closure,
Hmm.
but it's not necessary. Like on a
Yeah.
story level, it's not necessary.
If you've played through any of the other Living World patches throughout this past year, but don't have the time to do this particular, the fight lead up to getting into the finale, it's still worth it.
Oh yeah, I feel like as long as you know who Scarlet Briar was, then you will feel satisfied going through the story instance.
Kaladin in the chat room is pointing out that it's too bad that the lower level tunes can't use the potions that drop. And that is true. Like
Oh yeah.
you get leveled up, but you can't use the potions of destroying Scarlet Good.
It kind of upsets me because every single potion I've got, because I've been playing through the content aside from aside from the time I was actually fighting Scarlet, I was on my NG.
Yeah, which you're leveling up.
So I couldn't use any of the potions that I got. I would sell them for what, like 5 or 6 copper on the trading post.
Hmm.
And it was just like, oh great, another thing. It was like getting a minor rune of Dolyak or something. It was like, oh,
Or
great.
crate slaying.
Yeah.
Or getting an underwater weapon with a minor rune of ogre slaying.
Oh my
I think
goodness.
those are my favorite.
That's
It's
yeah.
like, for those aquatic ogres, what the hell is this?
And it's blue.
Yeah. Anyway, that's a bit of a segue that's neither here nor there.
It's still funny.
This segue brought to you by fruit juice.
Players who ascend to the Breachmaker and finish the story will earn a new title and a unique helm skin to display proudly. Not only that, but by defeating Scarlet's defenses, players will additionally earn several masterwork and rare items, blah 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 blah, and a rare chance for one of 2 unique rifles.
I admit, I popped that title as soon as I got it.
I admit that I didn't even know I had gotten a title.
I think it's like Savior of Lion's Arch or
I saw somebody else with it, Heroes of Lion's Arch, and I was like, oh, why don't I have that?
you do though.
Exactly. I had no idea.
So those rifles look kind of neat. I'm bummed that they're rare.
They are
Chance.
rare, but if you're moderately rich in Guild Wars 2 and you really like one of them, it could be within your budget because they're hovering around like 50 goldish.
It might be within my budget.
I mean, like, if you seriously do like it, it might be worth investing instead of just taking a chance. And just, if you do end up getting it dropped to you, then it's all gravy. You make your money back.
Yeah. Over on Reddit, there is a post where someone has commented on the hollow fight of Scarlet, and it says, "Hollow fight, read this. If you manage to get all 3 hollows dead at around the same time, there's like a 30-second to a minute window, they will reform into the prime hollow instead of splitting into the 18 smaller hollows. This can save you a significant portion of time, and it bypasses one of the harder parts of the fight."
Yeah.
You want to thank the poster, don't you?
I want to kiss this person because I will now tell every single person in map chat to not focus on one of them at a time.
Yeah, and that's how I saw it being done. Like blue first, then green, then red. Red's a piece of work to take down with that area of effect, I tell you.
It is. It definitely is.
That was from user Indigo121, that tip.
And you are awesome.
Yes.
So another thing that happened is that after you've killed Scarlet and you're running through, you might notice that there is an area that you can access a few panels at.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, you get different responses if you're an engineer.
Now, is it confirmed that it's only engineer get different ones?
Yes.
Or, okay.
It says to an elementalist, there's no obvious way to shut it down. Someone with more engineering knowledge will have to figure it out. And then, as an engineer, magic fuels this device, and there doesn't appear to be a way to shut it down. Look closer. Scarlet designed it to keep it running on purpose. She didn't want it to stop, even if she was captured or killed.
I'm a little surprised, though, that Scarlet thought that far ahead. I thought she would have been egomaniacal enough that her demise prior to her plan coming to fruition would not ever have occurred to her.
I think she had to keep those thoughts in mind.
I think this is awesome. I think it's really cool. The more I think about it, the more I think that it would not. Yeah,
There's
no, it would have. She would have. Yeah,
there's a whole lot of nitpicky things that we could draw back to with regards to the story
yeah.
and how it played out in the end.
I could see her thinking maybe she needed to be drawn elsewhere, and it needed to run on its own without her. That I could see being a motivation.
Perhaps, yes. I mean, even when you're fighting her, she's like, "Ugh, for goodness sake, do I have to do everything myself?"
Yeah.
She's definitely aware of the fact that her minions are inferior.
If you want something done right. And so finally, well, sort of finally, they mentioned that there will be a small release coming out on March 18th, which will provide an epilogue to the recent events. That release will show the aftermath of what players have experienced in the Battle for Lion's Arch and will conclude this current story arc. And I am super glad they're doing that. I think it'll be just a nice bookend
Oh, they have to do
to the
it.
whole thing. Well, some people might say, well, the final cinematic is kind of a bookend.
The cinematic is like the beginning of another book.
Well, yeah, it's like when you watch a documentary and just before credits roll, they give you the by the way, post filming and pre credits
Hmm.
or pre release, this happened, and they just give you a bit of an update. I always love those, so I'm really happy they're doing this.
I'm glad too. I mean, I'm sure. Okay, I don't want to say that it wouldn't be that much trouble, but if as long as it gives some closure to the Biconics, that's all I really care about.
Spoiler, timey has little to nothing to do with this because it's a big fight
Yeah.
beginning to end, and they can't, because of ESRB, they can't have a minor take place in these battles. So an epilogue gives her a chance to come out.
Yes. Yeah. We also have to explain what happens to the drill, and I honestly don't remember where I had seen this, but somebody had said that the drill should fall over into Dominion of Winds because the Tengu are terrible people. And I laughed so hard when I read that, and I wish to gosh I had saved the link. But oh man, like that
You
one
can
comment.
laugh like I'm doing right now.
Yes, I did. It was just absolutely perfect.
I think that term is ugly laughing.
Yeah, pretty much. It's a nice evil.
It's like the Tengu are terrible people.
Well,
Sorry.
I liked that. I think it was just like because they're sissy pants or something like
Okay.
that.
like, I actually have tears. I'm sorry. Good times. Good times. All right, continue.
So there's also a few new items, fantastic new items on the gem store, like the tormented weapons.
Yeah. And okay, so as you know, they're having sales every day because of March, which actually we don't have in the show notes. We should mention every day during March, the gem store has sales. And a few days ago it was Black Lion Keys. And oh, what I did this week is I converted a bunch of gold into gems and bought a bunch of Black Lion Keys. I basically tapped out where I was willing to go to, and I'm one scrap shy. I was
Oh
one
my
scrap
god.
shy of being able to get a love struck weapon for one ticket. But these tormented weapons are pretty cool. I like them. I don't know if I'm willing. If I got another scrap, I'm willing to wait to see what else is coming out. They're good though. But someone on Reddit, whose name I did not take the time to link, posted. He says, I'm not a storyteller, but here's something. The Hall of Monuments with, and I can't remember which weapon skin it was, but the shield from a Guild Wars 1 weapon that gets put into your Hall of Monuments is identical to the shield that you get from the Torment weapons. And I laughed reading this thing because it was just talking about what was the last thing that they say that Evan Nashblade stole my weapon from the Hall of Monuments. Criminal. Evan extorts people and robbed me to other good tunes. Gets away with it. I hate you. So he's talking about how Evan Nashblade steals from heroes of Guild Wars 1 to profit in Guild Wars 2.
He totally did.
Okay, I'm looking at this and it's just killing me. It makes me laugh. Which one is it? Does it say what it is?
What do you mean?
Oh, I was just which weapon. I can't remember which weapon skin in Guild Wars 1 it was.
It's the tormented weapon, tormented shield.
Oh, okay. In Guild Wars 1?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
The names are exactly the same.
Oh my God, I didn't even notice that part. Obviously, I don't have a tormented shield. When I saw that, I was super entertained. So I thought I'd put that in there. But further to the gem store, Black Lion Trading Post, Scarlet's Champs Mini. You toss them into the Mystic Forge with a mini My Trin to receive an armored mini Scarlet Briar. So I don't have any of these things, and I don't have a mini My Trin, so this does not apply to me, but maybe it applies to one of our listeners.
I was thinking about getting the Mitrin
Mhm.
before all of this. So I looked at the price and it was like, well, that's pretty reasonable. I'll think about it.
Did they shoot through the roof?
Oh, yes.
Damn it! Ah, I'm always late to the game on these things.
I'm sure that it's way overpriced now.
I'm bummed.
Well, now I don't feel like I need to get the mini pack because
Yeah, there's that. I'm not feeling any temptation because I just spent a bunch of gold on gems for Black Lion chests, but beyond
yeah.
that. And the final thing is a guild shield finisher in the gem store. And that sounds nice. My personal guild are it's the Quaggan is our guild emblem. So, I mean, Quaggan finisher, Quaggan finisher.
Yep. Why not? It would work.
I think that's a nice addition. I can see that being for some larger prestigious guilds.
Yes.
I can see that being a really big deal. Hint, I'm not in a prestigious guild.
I'd say we're pretty prestigious.
Well, we're fun.
We're awesome. I don't know what you're talking about.
So over on SoundCloud, which is an awesome site, ArenaNet has an official channel, as some people may or may not know, but they have posted the Battle of the Breachmaker music. And go listen to it, even if you haven't done the fight yet. Listen to it before you've done the fight.
It's funny, I said on the stream, it popped up with the picture of somebody pointing emphatically as you said, go listen to it. So that was my little giggle of the day. It's honestly fantastic. And full disclosure, I cut up and made I said I was going to make 4, ended up with 8 ringtones from this one track. I have no idea if it's legal for me to share it on SoundCloud or anything like that. So if somebody from ArenaNet wants to tell me that in feedback, that would be amazing. Because I literally have no idea how Creative Commons works or any of that stuff. And I mean, I've read through it several times and I just can't grasp it.
I would argue if you weren't profiting from it, it would be okay.
I don't know.
Finishing your novel? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's one of those where it's like, I took and I captured the blue and green attunements and I wanted to get the red and then the prime attunement sound also for notifications.
Also, let's just talk about that briefly. This is a bit of a segue.
Okay.
I really thought that was an interesting mechanic.
I really liked it.
So, for people who haven't done the fight yet, there are red and blue and green assault knights. And there's circles on the ground, which generally, if you see circles on the ground that your allies haven't created, you avoid them. Mm-hmm. But in this case, you don't. You want to go into them. And if you go in, when there's 3 available, if you go into all of them, you basically get a prime attunement that allows you to do more damage, take less damage. I don't know exactly what the mechanics are, but good. But there are sound effects when you enter the circles. And when you get whichever one is the third one in the group, if you enter it, you get a specific sound, just an audio cue that okay, I can do
more damage.
Yeah. And I really like that. I thought that was a really, really awesome cue. I can't think of a right term for it, but I'm really glad they did that. I thought it was nice.
It's really very musical because you've got red, green, and blue, and those each give you a certain tone. And when you're prime attuned, it turns into a chord. Mm-hmm. And it's just
I never even noticed that. I just
perfect.
Knew. Yeah.
And it's a great way of knowing, and it's like when you drop out of prime attunement, it plays it kind of backwards. So you know that you're no longer doing damage. Because if you're standing there and you're spamming grenades or something like that, all you're hearing is grenades for a long time. Mm-hmm. So you're not really watching and paying attention to see, am I still glowing white? Because that's the other part of being prime attuned, is that you kind of got this white outline to you.
I mostly just watch whether the icon is there or not. I never realized that there was a sound when it went away. I noticed when you got it, but I didn't notice when it went away. I'm going to be on the lookout or hear out for that.
I want to make them so that people can use them, and I did research about what other phone types need and all this kind of stuff. So I'm prepared.
And I helped you today
Yes.
with
I
taking your shoes off.
Yeah, taking your shoes off makes your footfalls incredibly softer. They don't go away completely, but they do make them much softer.
Which has nothing to do with the Battle of Maker music that we started with. But anyway,
It's the same sort of thing.
it's in the same environment.
It's music and the game and sounds, and it goes together pretty well. No, but seriously, if you do know about the licensing thing, please try and get in touch with me because I really am curious, and I'd like to be able to make this public for other people to use it now that I've done all the research about other phone types and stuff like that. It would be good to not have wasted that much time. Okay, let's go into the next segment. All right. Quality of life. Does Guild Wars has it?
Yes. So Sayana on the Black Lion chest highlights some quality of life improvements based on a recent thread on Reddit lamenting the poor quality of life in game. And before we even get into our top threes, I don't understand the whole poor quality of life in game description.
Okay.
Like, really? You're actually going to say that Arena has poor quality of life when they've implemented things like the wallet,
I'm going to say
account-wide
this, and I
wallet.
say this like purely, I'm just stating what somebody else said.
Hmm.
Somebody in chat said, this game will be great when it comes out of beta.
What? Table flip? Seriously?
Seriously. I saw somebody say that.
Trolly McTrollerson Trolley. Like that? Seriously?
The bad part is
Oh,
that so many people responded with, yep,
really?
yep.
Okay, well, you know what? Seriously, go play another game then.
No, there are some things that truly do annoy me.
Well, yeah. Like,
And there are some things that annoy the crap out of other people that I'm like, meh,
although I personally think ArenaNet thinks a lot about quality of life in
they
regards to
do.
its players, but is there room for more awesome stuff and room for improvement? Sure, there is, but calling it poor, I don't know. I just thought that was a bit of a stretch. It's like people want to vilify the makers of the game for some reason. Well, I
I
don't know.
mean, for
Sometimes
some
I think it
people,
just comes from I don't know, angry.
some people are just angry and they want to pick and break other people down. But I think that some people who are truly passionate about the game kind of lose that filter of should I say this? Does it need to be said? That sort of thing.
Yeah.
Versus am I just being picky?
So we each have a top three of things we would like to see in. Well, there's overlap, of course, but there is some differences. Two
Yes.
differences.
A couple.
Anyway, they're mostly the same.
We both agree that there should be a wardrobe for PvE skins.
Hmm.
Or perhaps they could store it in the achievement panel thing where the other things are.
Someone actually, I just saw that on. Was it on that? It was on that threads. I actually commented on it on Reddit. Someone else pointed out that they would really like to see skins like the achievement skins
Hmm.
handled like that in the achievement panel. I 100% agree. I think that would be awesome. We both also agreed that being able to see guild members on your map would be fantastic.
Absolutely.
And after we did the Rubble tour with two different parties, and unless you have eagle eyes, trying to keep people together is kind of tricky when you can't see the dots on the minimap.
Very.
What we did in that case is since Saint was our leader, he was the red leader, our group targeted him.
Red leader.
Yeah, he was our red leader. So we targeted him so we could at least keep track of him easily.
Yes.
So, and where we differed is I agreed with something that was in the article, which dodge cancels res. And yes, please.
That would be pretty nice, but I have already developed the habit that I actually triple tap when I'm rezzing.
What is that? How's that different?
Instead of double tapping to dodge in the direction, I will triple tap.
Oh, well, I
And
will try that.
sometimes it backfires and I lose like all of my endurance, but most of the time it just gets me out of the way once.
I'd rather lose my endurance than go into a down state.
I've made that my habit. I guess like playing as a water eel as much as I have, I'm so squishy.
Hmm. Oh, yeah.
The only thing I'm spec'd into is like water.
Yeah.
The end.
I actually do like your number 3 as well.
I feel that it's time to shake off the yoke and go ahead and put first person view into the game.
Mm-hmm.
We've been asking for it for quite some time.
Yep. I think,
And being able to switch in the first person view would change the way that Norns and Chars do jumping puzzles.
well, and yes, you can do slash sleep if you want to take a good screen cap. But if you could just go into first person view and hide your interface, that would make a huge difference. What? Ugh, seriously, you don't want first person view? You don't have to go into it if you don't want it.
And they could even, I think somebody else had said a long time ago that like their reasoning was they didn't want to have people playing in first person view while in combat. And
I agree. I wouldn't want to either.
if they made it so that it was like you couldn't get into that while you're in combat, like you know how you can't activate vistas when you're in combat.
That's true. Or use waypoints. That's true. That is a very good point.
I mean they're keeping track of that, so
That's true. So, yeah, if you avoid first person during combat, as long as you're in combat, it disables that. That would make all the difference. I agree.
and I also agree with M that yeah, I first person views usually do make my vertigo awful and gives me a bit of motion sickness. So I understand the reasoning there, but sometimes it's very useful.
Obviously, we each have something that three things we would like, 3, 4, 5 things that we would like to see.
Really, yeah.
But at the same time, obviously, it hasn't impinged on our enjoyment of the game too much.
Not
If
so
they're not there.
much. I mean, I'm sure there's been a few cuss words, spread around, but I think for the most part it hasn't deterred our passion.
Yes. So one of our other items that we're talking about is over on Reddit. I came across this article from post from Mr. Beefy, and it made me laugh because it was so Scarlet. Don't you want to know why I did everything, Brom? No.
No.
Then he goes sarcastic deadpan golf clap to the writers. It's like I thought that was hilarious because like and even the other comments like someone said I actually like this. It's a nice departure from the cliche of a villain trying to justify everything right before being defeated that we see in so many games, books, TV shows, and movies. It would be nice to discover it some other way later though. So which I think that's probably where the epilogue will come into play. But I thought that was okay, I'm jumping all over the place. But someone else, Nasus Quintus, said, "Do you expect me to talk? No, Mrs. Breyer. I expect you to die." Cow finisher on head. It's like, "Hey, Scarlet, what's your plan?" "Well, you see, it doesn't matter what your plan is." It's like,
Yeah, I want to know.
I do kind of want to know, but I just did love the fact, like, don't you want to know it? No, I really don't. I just want to kill you. It's like, okay, it's like Arena. It said, seriously, guys, you wanted her dead. Here she's dead. She's telling you nothing.
Right. Which, I think, like, for the past 6 months, all we've been saying is just let us kill her.
Just let her go.
Just let her die. So, I guess, in a way, we got our wish.
Did you not think Joker face in her death mask? Did you not get that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it though, but yeah.
Brain, not brawn, will change the world.
Ask an Asura.
So over on the official forums, there was a post called "How Important is Lord for You?" And Angel McCoy, one of the writers at ArenaNet, has replied, and she clears up some of the mystery surrounding the crate and the alliances. So in answer to the paraphrased question, why are the crate in the Toxic Alliance still working for Scarlet after their prophet has died? And she replied, as you may have noticed, these Crate were profoundly changed during their interaction with the Nightmare Plant and Scarlet. They are no longer the same creatures they were. They acquired a new look, new skills, and new behavior. That was interesting.
Very.
I thought that was a good point. And one of the other things she said is you will, of course, have noticed that the three alliances don't work in very close proximity to one another. There's a reason for this. Bum, bum, bum. Like I thought that was also like, yeah, you're right. Sometimes you notice things, but you don't realize you notice them.
Well, it's like I talked about how LA was kind of cut up into a 3-part pie.
Mm-hmm. And I didn't really know, so it was like that nice little buffer space. I wonder if we can get them like all like West Side Story
To fight each other.
to fight each other
That would actually be a great wrap up.
and turn into a musical where they like finger snap at each other.
Concrete snap.
So anyway, I thought it's a good reply from Angel. Like, admittedly, the original post that she's replying to had far more questions than that. Those were
Yes.
just ones I pulled out because I thought they were interesting replies. There's a link in the show notes. Follow it. Read more if you're interested.
Even if you're not interested, considering that we're not actually going towards bubbles this time around, you still may want to go ahead and keep yourself apprised of what's happening with the Crate and what their motivations were and how Scarlet had managed to convince them. Because it's interesting stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Tales of Tyria.
If you're interested in seeing all the photos that we are displaying on the stream, be sure to check out ArenaNet's Flickr account. And we have posted several links in the show notes for the photos. And the first one is, I think, the map. Oops.
You just deleted all the links.
Sorry. Sorry. The first one is the map.
There's a picture of Breachmaker from below looking really awesome at an angle that you really can't see because the drill is drilling and it pushes you back.
Yes. And if you're doing the Assault Knights, at least the ones I've been in, they do blue, green, red. When you're going from blue to green, half the time you're like, why can't I proceed further? And it's because you're too close to the drill.
Yeah, you gotta kind of do an arc around it.
Yeah. And then the other one is the Arch or Nothing. And it's the entrance from Gandharan Fields with the ship split asunder.
But the nice thing about this one is that it's got a little lore tidbit to it from Ella McKay.
Holy crap, it does.
It's a little kind of account of what's happening with her legion that she's attached herself to as a Priory member.
I did not know that she was Priory member. And I didn't notice they had these little bits on the side.
It's pretty awesome.
I fail at podcast.
You don't fail at podcast.
Scholar Ella McKay embedded with the 14th Line Guard Security Force. Mariner's Mike.
So in case you haven't been, in case you're not on Twitter, you might not know that all of the Myconics actually have Twitter accounts. And they talk to each other. And I know that I kind of mentioned this a little bit last week, but I wanted to throw back to a conversation that's on Twitter that happens after the fight with Scarlet. And it actually starts off with Timey inquiring as to whether or not Brahm is alive.
Brahm, you left me.
Less whiny, but yeah.
Oh, she can pull whiny out when she wants to.
I suppose so. And Casimir goes on to have a conversation with her about saying that, we'll all meet up in the dead end very soon. And actually, that's like where I hope the meetup happens. Like the end, the epilogue, rather. I hope that happens.
That would be interesting.
But I
or in their home.
Aw, that'd be cute.
That would be cute.
Go ahead and read this conversation because it is awesome.
Yes. And on a side note, for the Twitter feeds, I'm going to really miss Scarlett's Twitter posts.
I am too. She's really funny.
Whoever was running that account was doing, and I have no idea who runs these accounts. I have no idea if they're ArenaNet employees or just dedicated fans. I have no idea, but whoever ran the Scarlet post was fantastic.
Yeah, I'm not sure who it was. In fact, I honestly have no idea. I'm pretty sure it was a fan, but they're not outing themselves at all.
No, good job though. And I'm gonna miss that.
There's also a new Twitter feed that has popped up for Mordremoth.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny how he's just like, I'm gonna eat all of you.
Oh, and also shout out to Hunter from Hunter's Insight for calling Mordmoth last week.
That's true. He did.
Battle Bards is a podcast that showcases music and MMOs specifically. And actually, Celeste pointed out this particular entry for me. It was they dissect the music of Guild Wars 1. And I did listen to it earlier today, and I actually might listen to more of their podcasts. I quite enjoyed their back and forth. They weren't big into Guild Wars or Guild Wars 2 necessarily, by and large. There was the guy was.
Sipster is.
Yeah. Oh, Sipster. That's Sipster.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
They had done an episode on Guild Wars 2 before, but I felt like the Guild Wars 1 episode needed to be highlighted as well. They did a really great job of showcasing their favorites and describing why particular tracks were what they preferred.
I mean, I was really glad that Over the Shiver Peaks was listed because it is between both Guild Wars 1 and Guild Wars 2 my very favorite track in the game and in the world. And I love lots of the music, but don't get me wrong. But
Over the Shiver Peaks is what I wake up to.
Oh, I love. Actually, my alarm in the morning is Logan's Journey. But I love Over the Shiver Peaks. It's my very favorite. I love that they included it in Guild Wars 2. I love it. So, but I personally thought though that I wish they had given Nightfall a little bit more love because I thought it was the most diverse of
I feel
all
that way too.
The soundtracks. While I found it interesting the one they chose for Nightfall, it's certainly not the one I iconically think of when I think of Nightfall. But it was still very interesting. I liked how they talked about they all had different reactions to the music themselves, like the Ashford's Abbey, which also is played in Guild Wars 2.
Mm-hmm.
Someone thought it was very hopeful and lovely, and the other people thought it was very lonely and you know.
It's all about context.
Yeah, so I thought that was I did like. I've actually confession. This episode is about confession. Confession. I've never heard of this podcast before. But I really liked it, and I think if you're at all interested in game music, I'd give it a listen. Go back and listen to other ones. I mean, it's not like music goes out of style necessarily. I mean, it does. It does, but you know what I mean.
They do a very good job,
Mm-hmm.
and they're very good at what they do. So it's definitely worth checking out, and not just this episode, but several others as well.
Yeah.
So I will go ahead and move on to what I think is my favorite part of the show this week, quilts.
Yay.
I'm a quilter. I love quilts.
I also love quilts.
We're a bunch of quilt-loving people.
I've only made one quilt in my life, and it was for my niece.
Aw. I've got so many works in progress. I'm kind of being lazy at the moment and focusing on podcasting. Silly lady.
Lazy.
Yes, very. This person showed a screenshot to their daughter, and they decided that that would make an awesome art quilt. And honestly, the perspective and the way that it's composed makes an awesome art quilt.
Yeah. And, oops.
There you go, deleting things again.
Well, I want to put it in chat room for people. I looked at the quilt first, and I had a hard time knowing that that was the quilt and not the screenshot.
It's extremely well done.
Very well done. I loved it. I was like, oh.
It's awesome. It really is. I mean, the quilting is awesome. It really is. I don't know what else to say about it other than it's extremely well done. Confession, I once started planning a paper-pieced quilt of Kaith on the tree from the concept art and got so frustrated after about 9 hours of planning this that I was just like, it's not happening. Yeah. It's just not happening. Because there were so many dang triangles of color that it was like paper piecing half-inch, half-squared triangles, and it's just like, no, I just can't. I just can't. But I may have started planning another one today after seeing this.
Yeah, like well done to the quilter in question.
That's something you could take to a show and win. If you have a community event that you would like for us to share, please send us an email. Or if you've got a question for our Ask a Discerning segment, please let us know. If you want to help support us and our wonderful podcasting addiction, you can go ahead and go to one of these lovely sponsors, or both if you like. Doghouse Systems. Use the coupon code MMOReporter at doghousesystems.com and they will double your RAM.
Or you can go to Audible at audibletrial.com/MMOReporter and you will get your first month free.
And Allona, if people do want to get in contact with us, what are some of the many ways that they would be able to do so?
They can email us at gwreporter@mmorreporter.com, Twitter at gwreporter. Our website is guildwarsreporter.com, voicemail at 616-666-6778, or you can use the widget on the right-hand side of the website. You can visit our YouTube channel at MMO Reporter Network. And remember to like our videos and subscribe to the Guild Wars Reporter playlist if you like us, which I hope you do. Facebook at GW Reporter. Tumblr is gwreporter.tumblr.com. The Collegium website is collegium-gw2.guildlaunch.com. Or you can visit us individually on Twitter at me, Allona, at One Big Pair, or Celeste at
Seleuki.
Or you can tune into our live stream and be part of our lovely, lovely chat room at twitch.tv/MMOReporter every Wednesday at 9:30 p.m. EST or 6:30 p.m. PST.
So thank you to our chat room for keeping us company and for being so incredibly wonderful this week. And thank you, Allona, for sticking by and doing another show with me.
I love doing shows with you and fruit juice.
And fruit juice.
And we got inadvertent early member of the chat room for the next show. Hey, Wolfie.
Yes.
Because we're playing it fast and loose.
Yes, indeed. Thank you guys for coming out. Thank you for downloading the podcast. We hope that you download again next week. But most importantly, we hope to see you in game.